Your call is very important. Please hold.
Hello and welcome to You Call That Radio TV. We're about to go live to speak to the legend that is Dominic Hawken. I'll just bring you on straight away. Mr. Wigley, sorry, Mr. Wigley.
Hello there. That's all right. I'm Dominic Hawken as well.
Thank you very much for joining us today, man. I'm really excited to speak to you today. For people
No
that don't
problem,
know,
thank you.
Dominic's a songwriter, composer, producer, musician, and has a fantastic YouTube channel as well. I'll put a link to the Mr. Wigley YouTube. And maybe if you could just give us a wee bit of background of that. Because obviously I just found you via Rebecca Radical, and I've been kind of tuning in. Like, is it every Sunday? Is that like tradition?
Yeah, that's what it turned into. I started a YouTube channel to kind of thinking that I could do synth reviews and stuff like that, which I did. And I don't know if you know about the Deluge, the little little box, kind of boom box. Really, it's just like a sequencer and a sampler in a. I think there's one here. Hang on. Probably easier to show you. Okay, so that's a Deluge, and these are really cool, especially when they first came out. And I got one of these, and I thought, someone said they're a bit complicated to use. Can you maybe make a video or something? Oh yeah, that'd be quite cool. So I made this video, and it's done really well. But it's about 3 years old now. You know, it was like sort of 40,000 views, and so the idea was to kind of continue along that round. But then I found I was really it's quite hard to make that stuff, and I was quite busy doing other things as well. So I did a few of those, but I wasn't getting that like one a week or whatever. So I thought I'd do a live stream, because then you've got to do it every week. It's done. You can't edit it afterwards. And if nothing else, that'll keep the whole thing rolling. So I started it about 9 months ago, doing a Sunday 7 p.m. live stream, just talking to other musicians, really, not famous people in particular. There's been a few people on there, but just like, genuine guys and girls who are just making music with synths generally. And it's more of a light entertainment program, to be honest. Turned into a light entertainment program. I have a 10-year-old daughter called Lula May she said she wanted to do a quiz, but the quiz questions are like, what's the best flavour ice cream, or what colour socks have I got on, that kind of stuff. So it's good because you can't Google the answers, but it's a bit random. So like I had the keyboard player, amazing guy, keyboard player from 9 Inch Nails, and a high point was asking him, like, what's your favourite Disney princess? It's really tough, kind of like hardcore 9 Inch Nails guy. Really, really great. Yeah. So we've been doing that every Sunday, and that's gone from strength to strength. But I'm lucky enough, I'm also on a podcast called Sonic State with Nick Batt, which is probably more well known because it's been going for like 15 years, literally 15 years. I think there's about 710 episodes now, and Nick is just kind of a genuine hero in the synth world, really. So he's kind enough to let me come on there every now and then and chat about synths and things. But I kind of thought there was enough about synth news. There's enough live stuff about, so your program is not about that. If you just go on and talk about the latest synths and stuff, it's like it's kind of been done. So it'd be better to just kind of frame it in a slightly different way, So hence, yeah, Mr. Wigley on YouTube. Give it a search, give it a follow if you like it. There will, without procrastinating again, there will be some gear stuff coming on soon, but mainly it's the Sunday. It's the Sunday kind of wind down zone for us.
So yeah, the kind of I try to make sort of like shorter, like 10-minute bits of content as well, because I know that long form, I think it's good to have a bit of both.
Yeah.
But it's just that, like you said, it is quite an intensive process for the editing, and it's like you've got to get it all done in a day, or like, and I've actually started a few that I've just not had time to kind of get finishing. So I feel you on that one. The Sunday shows are great, and we've already got, I think we've got a few people here. We've got Inky the Cats in the house.
Hey, Inky. Well, Inky's kind of the connection to a lot of all of this, to be honest. I mean, Rebecca introduced us. She's brilliant. Honestly, I think she's going to be a massive star. But she put a track in called F It into the Unsigned Review Live. So there's a guy called Mark Gardner whose stage name is Piero the Acid Clown, who makes acid techno.
Yeah,
And he's the guy behind Clownfest, which has now had 7 shows, I think now, which is this online festival.
I've watched a few of them. Doghouse
Right.
is a friend of mine who plays
Doghouse, yeah,
I think.
brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. So that started as a kind of everybody gets 20 minutes, a one-day festival, and then the last thing was literally 10 days. It was insane. But they have a thing called Unsigned Review Live, where you put a track in and they chat about it. It's all very positive. It's not like a competition, but it's like a lot of remixes have come out of it and collaborations, and that's every Tuesday. So check out, just search Clownfest or URL or something on Facebook, or Piero the Acid Clown, you'll find it. And Rebecca put a track into that, which I just thought was a brilliant track. So I got in Messenger and got in touch with her and got the stems for that, and I haven't been able to mix it the way I hear it. Not because I haven't had the time. I think I've tried. I've tried about 5 times. It just hasn't come out right. But I know there's a track in there that's just that's immense. It already sounds good. I think that's the thing. When you're really close and you really love something, it's quite hard to change it and adapt it, I think. But anyway, so that's how we met. Inky has also been met through that. She basically said to me once that there was a gap on Sundays. No one was doing any live stream or YouTube stuff. Do you want to do one? And that's what kicked it all off. And she's my moderator. She finds half the guests. She's always in around that kind of YouTube live scene. That's the thing, where you're talking about doing short forms and long form videos. I think you definitely get more views. There is a very hardcore, wonderful group of people who watch my channel, but they also watch like Hardware Jams, and they also watch the URL, and hopefully there's quite a few here that will find you through this, and maybe if you come on my show we can cross-pollinate a bit. But they're absolutely brilliant. They're really loyal. They watch it all. There's a guy called Ranzi on Saturdays from Australia who does one, and you're almost guaranteed this block of 50 to 100 kind of solid viewers that will just be around and be so positive and chatting. It's almost like a little private club or a pub or something. But live, but doing a recorded is very much different, because it tends to have a longer life form. I think with live stuff, you don't get many people watching it after the event, after the first few days. So a week or two later, you've kind of done all the views. Whereas with a something about the deluge or whatever, that has definitely got a life of its own. So it's kind of, if you want to be a successful YouTuber, I guess you have to do both, really, if you're really going to push it. But
yeah, I think what I've noticed as well is that before lockdown, so day one of lockdown, we started doing this channel as a live stream. But before that, there was an audio podcast called You Call That Radio. There still is as well, but I've just not been as good at updating it. And my idea was I was going to put a lot, transfer some of these ones into the audio format. But it doesn't, because there is a lot of live interaction between the comments. It's a totally different format.
Yeah.
It doesn't always go. And maybe sometimes we're watching music videos in between as well, or maybe we're looking at things on the screen. So yeah, it has been a completely different thing. We've got Steg G in the house as well, who's big up Dominic. I catch him sometimes on the Sonic Talk podcast.
Oh, lovely, thank you.
Steg is a Glasgow legend, hip hop producer, DJ at Sonny Govan, and all that
nice.
stuff as well.
Nice, good to see him.
Raymond Dito's in the house as well. I believe Raymond was taking photographs at our gig at St Luke's on Saturday night. We played a gig with Colonel Mustard and Hugh Reid. It was a cracking night. And we can announce now that Gyro Baby's next gig is May the 20th at Room 2 alongside Mickey Nines. We weren't allowed to announce that until we had that gig out the way, but we can now do that. So go and get your tickets for that now. And also, right before I forget, actually, I've got to give a shout out to our gig at Gala Shields on Saturday with the legendary funk legend Jessie Ray and the hip-hop legend Stevie Creed, the Brooklyn Scotsman, and Minerva Wakes, Honey Farm, loads of other stuff there as well. So if you're in the Gala Shields area, then please come out to that. Going back to Rebecca Radical, man, a massive fan of hers as well. You don't know what I like about Rebecca is you don't actually know what you're going to get when you hit play. It could be anything. It could be hip hop, electronic, punk rock. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. It was just
love that.
So off the wall, this track. And I have I know quite a lot of DJs from back in the day when I did a lot of keyboard sessions, which is how things like Tribe Called Quest happened. because I was working with DJs at the time that were doing the remixes. So Paul Oakenfold and Danny Rampling and a couple of guys called the Boilerhouse. I was literally being their kind of one-man programming, keyboard playing team, and I played it to a guy, a DJ that I know, and I said, "You got to listen to this." And his taste is quite eclectic, and he was like, I'd sent him a message. I didn't hear anything back, and I sent him another message about a week later saying, "I know you're busy. Did you get?" He said, "I love it. I bought it. Are you going to do some work with them?" And I was like, well, "Yeah, I'd love to." And ever since then, it's like I can't finish this track. But yeah, it's different enough. And I think lyrically it's brilliant. I think that's the difference, isn't it? It's like it's not just normally you only notice lyrics if they're wrong. It's like, that sounds a bit weird. And it's rare to find an artist where the lyrics come across on the first or the second listen. You might not understand the lyrics in the chorus, and eventually you'll work it out, or you'll see them somewhere. Oh yeah, that's even cleverer than I thought. But hers, because of the way her voice sounds, it's just you get it within like 2 listens. And that tune in particular is epic. But she's just a little creative dynamo. I mean, every time I see her, she's off to a gig, or she's arranging something, or she's making clothes, or doing art, it's just incredible. She came on the show, and there was just like so much to talk about. We didn't get half of it done because it's just a real, almost like. She doesn't put herself down, but she's very modest in her own way about what she's actually capable of doing, which is great. But amazing girl.
I've got a couple of our artworks just now, just about to get framed. I've got them in the house, so maybe try. It's in another room. I'll maybe bring them down later on. But yeah, man, you mentioned A Tribe Called Quest. I really wanted to ask you about that. I mean, so Can I Kick It? So you're involved in the recording of that. I mean, that is one of the greatest songs of all time, in my opinion. I think people would universally agree on that as well.
It's very cool to have been involved with it, which is brilliant. I mean, how did that come about, man? Well, they weren't doing anything in the UK in terms of sales. Calder Marshall ran their label in the UK, and the track had already been recorded. So there's an original kind of album, American single version. And asked me and Ben and Andy, who are these aforementioned Boilerhouse boys, who are probably the biggest DJs that you've never heard of. They were, in the era of superstar DJs, they were kind of the only ones that didn't cross over into absolutely massive mainstream kind of world, but they did a lot of production, a lot of stuff with me actually. We did for everything from kind of Pop Will Eat itself through to, oh crikey, MC Hammer actually, which we never really talk about, but completely bizarre. We spent, I think probably they spent so much time in the studio with me and doing stuff that they dropped the DJing stuff. But anyway, so Calder Marshall didn't think, they thought it was a great tune. We all loved the tune anyway, just as friends. We used to put it on in the studio and jump around to it. And they wanted to put it out in the UK, but they wanted to try a different mix because they just thought it was a little too out there as a hip hop tune. It's quite stark on the album. So we did a remix of it twice actually, which I'll come to in a minute, which then came out as the single over here, and then to be honest is probably the one you've heard. It's not like an obscure mix. It got taken off around the world, and I'd be surprised if you put the album version on, unless you bought the album, you'd go, "Oh, I never heard this one before," when actually that was the original US single. So our one's it's just a little bit more accessible, I guess, if you're not hardcore hip hop back in the day. And so yes,
what was the main sonic differences to it?
We put a load of extra samples and work and production, if you like, and we did a lot of hip hop, which is I think why we got the gig back then, when it was less cool, especially for 3 white guys. Actually mixing American hip hop artists was quite a strange mix, but it's a real challenge as a keyboard programmer back then, because you're using Akai S1000s, hardware samplers. There's time stretch, but there's no kind of auto tune or you have to stretch loops and stuff kind of to get them in time and to get them in tune, and it's quite a technical challenge. And with the hip hop, we weren't allowed to record anything, so I couldn't just say, "Oh, I'll bung some piano over that." It was literally lacing together samples. So we sampled people like Archie Bell and the Drells. We sampled What a Waste by Enduri. We sampled, obviously there's a Lou Reed sample on the front of the song that everyone knows that kicks it off. He got, I think, almost all the publishing for that in the end. And some real choice little vocal samples. So the very first mix we did, we used The Sound of Music, where it goes, the first three notes are, and we pulled loads of vocal samples from The Sound of Music and put it all over it, which they loved. And then they went to get clearance, because back in those days you had to do this, and I used to fill in all these sheets of sample clearances saying how many bars I'd used, how long they were, how many times they occurred in each of the flipping 7 mixes we had to produce of various lengths, all this stuff. Rodgers and Hammerstein in their will said you weren't allowed to use any samples from that, so it got knocked on the head. I think subsequently someone else has done it now, so the wills have obviously, or their estate has obviously relented, but we then had to go all the way back in and do it all again, do a complete recall, take all of her voice off of it, and we got Pete Tong, the DJ, to come in and go A Tribe Called Quest on the front, and a couple of other choice vocal samples from a Beatles B-side that we found, where all the crowd were kind of screaming, and they were coming off a bus or a plane or something. So there's all of those. So it is the one, we even put Prokofiev in it. It was me and Ben's kind of like, we were on a mission to put Prokofiev in a remix, and we could never ever find out how to do it. And then this came up. The Prokofiev thing is an intro of The Apprentice. Bom, 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 ba-dum, 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 that one. So if you can hear that in that mix as well, it just drops to it on the 12-inch. So we just piled everything in, because by the time we did it the second time, we had a bit more sort of production time to really, really polish it. And then literally 3 weeks later, I think it came in at number 15, and then just went up all around. It was my first hit that I worked on, because we were sitting in the studio working on another tune for a band called the Mint Juleps, I think. And the phone rang, and it was just a rock and roll moment. It's like, oh yeah, the midweek's number 15, and we're just like looking at each other, going, this is what it's like. This is great, isn't it? Oh dear. So that was one of the first times, and that's my involvement. So basically, most of the stuff you hear on it was played in inverted commas, but pretty much programmed by me, apart from the original loop that they had, which is a brilliant loop, to be honest. I don't know where they pulled that out from, but it's a fabulous. I was really interested about the crowd thing, because I've put my volume up because somebody said I was too quiet, so I've turned myself up. Hopefully that's okay now, guys. But yeah, the crowd sound is that obviously adds so much atmosphere to it as well. But is that not? Does that mean that does the Beatles not get rid of it? I mean, I'm certainly not going to even risk playing the song on this show, because it sounds like there's too many. I think we put it on the front of the 12-inch, so actually it's a very, very obvious screaming crowd sample with a guy going, and you can hear all the people going wild as they go. So this is a very obvious sample, whereas there are a few little embellishment crowdy noises and background noises in there that you wouldn't recognise. So no, the Beatles, I don't think they got writing credit for it. There's another one that Ian Dury is brilliant, because What a Waste, I don't know if you know the tune, it's like, what a waste.
Yeah.
And it's this really, the Blockheads are an amazing band. They played on all of the kind of Trevor Horn's productions and stuff as well, but the bass line is brilliant, and it's the hook of it, There's even John Pertwee playing Wurzel Gummidge going, you can. Can I kick it? You can. And that was sampled bizarrely off of some children's record that I think Andy turned up with. We were kind of really desperate for something to fill that little spot. And we put this thing on, and as if by magic, we heard this bloke go, you can, and it was like, that's it. That's the one. Sample it, without even knowing it was there. So it was one of those kind of slightly serendipitous moments where everything really came together.
Did you know it was going to be a hit? Did you have a feeling that it could be a hit, or?
I don't think I've ever had that feeling before. Even like when I because I did Stay Another Day with E17, I didn't think that was a single when I heard that either, which is crazy because obviously it was colossal. Yes.
Sorry, man. Yeah, it's right. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. So I don't
huge.
think I could recognise a hit unless it slapped me around the head with it.
I was quite young when it came out, but I remember it being everywhere. It was around about Christmas time. It was Christmas.
Yeah, it was a Christmas number one. Yeah,
Christmas
which is
number
odd,
one. Yeah,
we wrote it in. It was that was a right. So by that stage, I'd kind of progressed to working more kind of. Well, with them, I was basically working with them for 10 days, trying to write an album with them, and mainly with Tony Mortimer, who was the sort of songwriting force. They're the rapper rather than the singer in the band. And we literally had 10 days because it was their second album. I'd loved the first. I love pop music. You know, I'd really, really loved them just as a kind of fan. I just like that kind of stuff. And I just got a message through a friend who said, do you fancy working with the guys? They've got 10 days to make an album because Tony's a bit upset that he was kind of shut out of some of the recording processes for the first album because it was a bit of a kind of production. Do you know what I mean? New band, young, kind of signed in the label. They weren't given as much input as they kind of probably should have been, or whatever. You know, the score back then. And I actually took that to mean, can you entertain the band for 10 days whilst we kind of go and make the album again? They were that kind of a label, and definitely that kind of a management company. And I said, well, and I was going to go on holiday. And I thought, well, this sounds like much better fun than going on holiday. I can just do like 10 days, you know. They're a very famous band already. You know, it's just a fun thing to do, you know, go wander around. But we did actually start recording stuff. So we were given a list. It's quite interesting to know how that worked. It was a list of 10 song styles. So you wanted a football chanting song, you wanted a ballad, you wanted a slower tune that isn't a ballad, you know, mid-tempo R&B. Be quite specific about how the breakdown of this album was, which probably makes sense if you're not a musician. But if I gave you a list of 10 different song types and said, I'll see you in 10 days, you know, it's a bit of a tall order, right? So just me and another Rob that I work with, who's a different DJ, and Tony Mortimer met up in the morning and spent the next 10 days working together. And I think 8 of those tunes made the album. The first one we did was Stay Another Day. And I didn't even get a call until about the 3rd day when the producers, who are Harding and Curnow, Ian Curnow and Phil Harding, who've done loads of stuff from a kind of early PWL stuff and madness. I mean, just brilliant. The one of them used to play keyboards for Talk Talk, and the other guys are just fabulous mixer. Loads and loads of mix work. So it was nice to work with producers like that, because what I was doing was sitting with an 8-track, kind of recording complete demos with vocals and everything was done, but they were fast demos, and then I was throwing them out to them. But 3 days in, I'd done really nothing. Just had a few demos, you know, and they called up and said, how's it going? And you know, have you got anything to send us? And I was like, oh, you really want us to write some stuff? Okay, well, actually, yeah, it's going all right. We've done a couple. Okay, brilliant. What, you're actually going to use this stuff, are you? I said, yeah, we're sitting around, you know. So I sent them over. And actually, it was just, again, one of those things where things just go right. It was midsummer. Tony had just bought a big Range Rover because he'd got a royalty check off the first album. They were pop stars, you know. It was just fun. I actually didn't care because I was going to go on holiday. I'd made the decision to kind of step aside from music for a little bit because I didn't want to be in a position where it was like, you've got to do music to pay the rent. You know, I'd made a bit of money out of the whole thing, and I wanted to do it for fun. So I was kind of exploring other things like computers, and the internet was in the very, very early stages, and it was quite exciting times for me to kind of be looking elsewhere. Also, I was kind of beginning to compete with like 14-year-olds with laptops, and you know, it's not something that you particularly do. I just wasn't cutting it in the genres of music that I wanted it to be, you know. So I didn't really care, and I think part of that came across in the whole thing because somehow Tony, the artist, was like, he didn't seem to care that much either. He was just having a good time. And I think with the band, every time they put a record out, it was almost like they didn't expect it to go, and so it was a real bonus when it worked. Certainly the label were like that, you know. We'll stick a single out, oh, we'll do another one, oh, that's going quite well, we'll do another one, you know. So everyone was kind of in a really good mood. And we were finishing early, could go and drive around London in his Range Rover and shout at women and, you know, whatever it might be, just having a laugh, really. And so that's how it came about. So at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on the first day, we'd written Stay Another Day, demoed it, stuck the DAT in a bag ready to go to the producers, and then we did 9 more for the next sort of 9 days. And then it turned out that Stay Another Day was, you know, obviously a colossal hit. So about 3 months later, I was working on an Eternal album in Marcus Studios in Fulham, and Eternal had been making this album for 2 years, literally 2 years. And in the meantime, I'd made an entire E17 album in the time that they'd taken to do like the vocals on one tune. And I was just thinking it's much more fun doing it like that, you know, rather than poring over this one tune trying to come up with keyboard sounds. And that was it. And then I got a stickered copy of the CD with a sticker on the front saying includes, I think it said includes the hit single Stay Another Day, and it hadn't even been released yet. So I thought, okay, that's interesting, but that means it must be a single. And I was thinking, how did that one go? God, let me have a think. You know? And it was a bit of a life changer. So yeah, it was one of those tunes where I did actually wake up one morning and the postman was whistling it coming up my path to put me letters. And there's this brilliant story of Paul McCartney saying exactly that, saying I knew it was good, or I knew I was successful, or something like that. I knew I'd made it when I heard the postman whistling my song, and I've actually had that. So that's really good. So yeah, that's the story.
So how do you break that down? Like, if you're saying 10 songs in 10 days, did you just try and give yourself the goal of doing one song a day, or were you just sort of
absolutely.
So what we usually do when we're trying to, when I go to the studio, is maybe try and attack two songs in the same day. Maybe not with the goal of actually maybe finishing, well, hopefully finishing it, but I think it's just quite good sometimes when you're stuck in that same song for so long that it's just nice to freshen it up a little bit.
Totally. I mean, I think with me, if you gave me a month, I'd do one song in a month. You know, I think you actually have to force yourself out of it. And I think, I mean, the guys, some of the guys I know who are proper songwriters and they just write songs and they're very successful at it, have said it's all about numbers. You know, write 100 and one of them will be a hit, or you know, write 110 maybe of merit, if you like, you know, and they really do mean those kind of numbers. So I think it was really good to be imposed this kind of thing, saying, you know, do one a day. And, you know, because also you have got the advantage that this was then not going to go and be pressed. This was then going to go to the main studio with the producers, and the vocalist would be redoing the vocals. So I did some guide vocals and stuff on it, and Tony did some vocals and some raps on it, but it went off to be produced. As it happened, a lot of the stuff that we put on the demos ended up on the final audio, so which was really good. You know, pretty much all the parts were there. I think with Stay Another Day, funnily enough, I had drums on it, and the drums, I could never quite make them work, and nor could the production team. So, and they spent quite a while trying to get drums going with this, effectively a ballad, and the final track doesn't have any drums on it whatsoever. And I think it was almost like an afterthought. They were trying to mix it wasn't right, so they said, oh, we'll just put a pass down without the drums and we'll come back tomorrow. And when they came back in tomorrow, they listened to it without drums and just went, actually, do you know what, that's it, that's how it's going to go. And they stuck some sort of bells on the end which made it sound Christmassy. Because it's not a Christmas. I mean, literally, it was.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was wondering, because it does sound Christmassy, though. It does the job, but there's no mention production of Christmas anywhere. But there's some sort of subliminal bells that
it's
just
there, work. You know. So the royalty checks come in every Christmas. So the only thing now it needs to be done from a financial point of view, a massive American band needs to cover it at Christmas time, and then honestly, I don't think it's ever been a hit in America. But it's actually been number one twice, because Girls Aloud put it on a double A side when they had Sound of the Underground. I think it was a Christmas number one, but it was actually a double A side, and they did a cover of it on the double A. So I think that might be a record. But yeah, can't turn off. But I have to say the most important thing about that is I think it worked because no one cared. I don't think anyone was sitting there going, oh man, we've got to get this tune out. You know, the production, they're waiting. Oh God, you know, what are we going to do? Everyone in that room had just hit a good moment in life. We knew what we were doing. Obviously, we spent a lot of time doing music and that stuff, but we didn't actually care. So we were like, yeah, that sounds great. You know, less not being precious, and I think that came across. I think that's quite important.
Where does that? Why was there no pressure? Do you think? I mean, because I would have assumed that because they'd already had the hit album before, that they would be. Would they not normally in a normal situation?
They would normally, yeah. They really would, and I think I didn't care because it was fun. And I should have cared. Obviously, I cared that what we did was good. I wasn't just going to bung any old crap down, but I didn't feel under pressure, because I think when someone gives you 10 songs to do in 10 days, they're not expecting you to produce 10 masterpieces. They're probably thinking. Plus the fact, don't forget, I didn't actually think that they'd be wanting our songs anyway. So at least for the first half in my head, I was like, this really doesn't matter. my good friend Rob, who co-wrote it, Rob Keane, is just a one-off amazing character. He's an absolutely beautiful man who doesn't really get stressed about anything, to be honest. He's just incredible. And Tony didn't seem too stressed about it. I think he was just flying on the whole, it'll happen. If the songs aren't right, I'll get more time out the label. Do you know what I mean? And he had the same really good attitude, which was like, let's just see what happens. And it just clicked.
Well, they were probably just buzzing at how successful they'd been by that point, because it was probably beyond all their expectations by that point.
Totally.
I've actually got my friend Lewis. Lewis is. I told her that you were going to be on the show, and she just said, "Stop lying. Why are you making up lies?" Because she loves E17 that much.
Well, they are a great band. It's not
a huge one.
I'd love to say we worked for 10 years on that tune. It doesn't take it away from the fact that I'm really proud of it. We're all really proud of it, and it's a great track, And Brian, the singer, has the most amazing voice. I mean, he's the most amazingly talented. He's got like a black soul voice in this little white body that just, so where does that come from? It's just incredible. Tony's a great rapper. It's just a shame. That tune was almost the beginning of the end, I think, because they exploded them from being... It just exploded them, to be honest. They just went absolutely huge. And it went from being more of a kids' pop, youthful thing to being something your gran and your nan knew and your mum knew and everybody knew that track. And it changed up the kind of politics within the band a little bit, and it began to just get a little bit shaky, which is where you really want your good management. Tom Watkins wasn't really a great manager when things are under pressure like that. He used to manage Pet Shop Boys and Brass. He's unfortunately passed away now, but he's not viewed kindly by some of the artists that he's been with. So I think if you're a manager, you need to do two things. You need to protect the artist. There is a classic example, okay, boys, we can take a bit of time. Let's just get it back down to earth, make sure everyone's happy. Didn't do that. And also, you just need to do the best deals for your artist, and that doesn't necessarily mean taking the most money. That just means going representing your artist, getting them what they need, getting an environment that they need to create in, and he wasn't. He was very much a money-minded kind of guy who would ask huge advances that would then be very hard for the bands to recoup. So a couple of his lesser-known bands just got dropped because they couldn't make up the advances once he'd pocketed them. But there you go. I don't know if those days are with us anymore. I mean, that was back in the days when it was just at the cusp. So, like, if you were Duran Duran in the 80s and you were top 5, you'd be doing 500,000 a week in terms of singles. If you were a top-selling single, like a number 1 single, and around that time you'd probably do 500,000 sales in total. And now obviously we're back down to streaming, so it's really touring income and that kind of revenue. And I don't know if the days of the big pop manager Svengali kind of thing is still with us, maybe. But I'd like to think there would be more. They were young guys as well. I'd like to think there would be more of a security blanket around people like that when you literally explode that big. And suddenly you're just you've gone absolutely mainstream. That's a lot to take on. And they basically, kind of imploded. Poor Brian went a bit mad. Yeah.
Well, I remember hearing the story about he ran himself over or something like that.
Yeah. I don't quite know what was the cause of this, but he sort of fell out the car whilst he was reversing. And he really screwed up his body. I mean, this wasn't funny. He pushed... all the organs got squashed and squished up. I mean, he was really ill. So I honestly don't know.
Is any of the guy? Are any of them still working in music at all?
Yeah, well, they never. I think briefly they reformed as 4 people. Then you never quite get all 4 into the same room. But Brian and the other 2 guys, Tony and John. Brian, John, Terry. So John and Terry are the other 2, if you like, not the rapper and not the singer. They are still going out as E17 with a new singer. Tony was putting out some kind of music, I think. I don't know if he's stepped back a bit. He puts out Stand Other Day kind of the last couple of Christmases under various different guises as well. It's weird though, because they're older now. I think Tony might be a grandfather, to be honest. It's like...
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, they're younger than me, but it's just like when I remember these kids, right? Can you imagine the time of their lives? So it's all set down. But I think across Europe and stuff, E17 with the other two, the less known two, if you like, and the new singer are probably kind of doing okay.
Yes, they changed their name to E17, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of
that's
to get
right.
round
So,
that.
yeah, exactly. I think there was always some debate over what it was, but yeah, they can go out and they've obviously ended up owning whatever the name was that was there.
Who is the band? Is it? I think it's maybe Culture Beat, or is it maybe Two Unlimited. I think maybe Two Unlimited, but so Two Unlimited, I think the woman left, so they replaced the woman singer, and then the guy left, so they replaced the guy singer. And I think someone in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Two Unlimited that do that, and they're just touring just two totally different people. But I suppose the good thing about doing that is you can just get younger people, just replace them every 5 years.
Honestly,
it's a young man's game. That I would say touring as a pop star.
It happens. UB40 are going through that at the moment, aren't they? I think UB40 have split into two different UB40s. UB40 featuring one of them and featuring the other one or something. I mean, which is kind of crazy.
I know that the South are walking about doing beautiful South songs.
Oh, really?
And I know that Paul Heaton's not happy about that.
The keyboard player with XTC is going out as EXTC. With full knowledge of the band, that he's actually kind of got the blessing of the band to go and do it. But yeah, it is weird. I mean, manufactured boy bands is not an 80s. I mean, the Monkees were a manufactured band. I flipping love the Monkees as well. Daydream Believer, I'm a Believer, are great pop songs, but they were literally manufactured and spent, funnily enough, most of the rest of their lives trying to make out and trying to prove to everybody that they were real musicians. But they were put together for a film, The Monkees, well, it's not the film, the TV series, and all of their music, all of their tracks were made over the course of a year, and there's a lot of them. So after that first album, the Hey Hey with the Monkees and Daydream Believer and all that stuff, that was the kind of end of it. So they thought, well, hang on a minute, we're still a band, like E17, we'll go off and do our own thing, and they made a few other albums with some really great tracks on them, actually. But that was a total manufactured thing. So if you look at people like kind of Bros being a bit manufactured, I'm looking at their older school ones, but things like X Factor and Pop Stars, it's not a new thing by any means, and sometimes it can work really, really well. I mean, you have to look at what's his I can't think of the band now. They're absolutely massive, 4 guys together, and the guy's gone solo now. He'll be in the charts. I will look him up. But
the Bros documentary was great, man. The Bros.
Do you know I haven't seen that?
That was great. I watched I think it was last New Year. The Hug My Neighbour was not last New Year, the New Year before, when it was all locked down and there was nothing happening. But yeah, I watched that one. But yeah, actually, on that, if anyone's got any suggestions for music documentaries, actually, because I've got a really busy week this week, but after this show, I'm going to go and watch a documentary, chill out, and then get ready for a very busy week ahead. We've got a show tomorrow at 2:00. Actually, Celine Salon from London will be here, talking about their cabaret night that's taking place in Glasgow on Friday night at Time, which is old Fury Murray's in St Enoch Square. For anyone that remembers Fury Murray's, cracking new venue, it's been renovated. And also tomorrow night we've got Peng Shui, who's an amazing punk grime band from down south. I think London, I'm not 100% sure. And on Thursday, we welcome Mike Watson, the author of The Meaning of Mark Fisher. And on Friday, I think we're going to try and get Jesse Ray and Stevie Creed on to kind of get the hype going for our gig together at Gala Shields on Saturday. We've got a couple. I'll read a couple of comments out just now. We've got the Monkees did some amazing songs which were really smart songwriting, such as Pleasant Valley Sunday.
Pleasant Valley Sunday is an example of one that they did after that, and it is a brilliant tune, absolutely brilliant. And they did
Stepping Stone. What a track, says Epi.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a cover of that with Ant and Dec. I've worked with them all, I tell you.
Do you know what? We've not used this for a while, but there's too many name drops to go. But since you said Ant and Dec,
name drop. You call that radio?
So was that the PJ and Duncan days?
It was, yeah.
So
yeah.
did you work on? I had that album.
We were always brought in to do the second. You have a hit, then you get us in to kind of get the next one out the door. So after Let's Get Ready to Rumble, they thought, who should these boys work with? Oh, I know, the guys that just did Stay Another Day. So we lumped into.
There's loads of bands that were like they'd have the same song. Do you remember Dupe?
Yes.
Would come out and then like then we'd just have another song that was basically Dupe
Yeah. I can't claim that one, but no, absolutely. That was mostly from kind of the PWL, Stock Aitken and Waterman stable, and some of those guys involved with those, and Two Unlimited came from them originally as well. They just didn't put it out.
Culture Beat.
PWL.
That whole thing, and it was like that was the era where a random rapper would always come in at the last third of the song.
Got to stick him in the end instead of the guitar solo in the middle eight. It became random rapper. But yeah, so we went in, and this was in PJ Duncan. What a lovely couple of guys. Again, in their young, very, very successful. Obviously, they're already on TV doing really, really well. Kind of love music, both realised that they weren't ever going to be Elvis or anything, and I think they made the right decision to go, actually, do you know what, we're going to concentrate on our TV career. But yeah, amazing, really, really loved it, and so much pressure on their shoulders. It's just uncanny. I found about a year ago a big red notebook that because I had a studio in my house, so everyone used to come around my house whilst we were doing all of this stuff, and Ant left a notebook behind, which I'd forgotten about. I just chucked it in a box with all the track sheets and notes and stuff. And I came across it, I was like, oh my gosh. And flipping through it, you could see how much pressure there was on. There were lists and lists and lists of stuff that he had to do and people that he had to talk to and things that were concerning him at the time, about 10 years previously, with, TV schedules and stuff. And I was thinking, man, that is a lot of pressure to be under. So I gave it back to him, I was like, oh man, this is a snapshot of time. And it is, ironically, was about to go into a much worse place than he was then. He seemed quite cool again, but obviously he's dropped out and come back again. But yeah, they were really cool.
I suppose that was a good decision, because I suppose that, like I was just saying earlier, if you're going to make actual pop music at that age, it is aimed at a younger demographic, and there's a shelf span on that type of music.
Yeah. I think they were also sort of moulded into that. I don't think they sat down and said, "Hey, should we write a song?" I think their management,
Biker
weird
Grove.
management.
Biker Grove
Biker came out of that. They had really weird management at the time as well. I won't go into. Yeah, that's probably something to tell you off.
Keep that far from the biography.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they were moulded into that. Not feeling particularly comfortable, very commercial sounding music, it's not something they would have written themselves. So that's actually why we came in. It was like, now can you write some follow-ups, and we did, and there's a best of album where a couple of singles were okay in Europe, but nothing outstanding, and that's when they kind of dropped out. But I mean, in terms of name dropping, I've worked with Malcolm McLaren, was incredible. That was an amazing guy, really quiet, strange, kind of, I think he had a massive brain, kind of lots of thoughts going on. We did a Coke commercial for Japan or somewhere, so he'd obviously been paid a vast fortune to make an advert that we'd never see in the UK, and he was just throwing music ideas together, so I was there just kind of piecing it together. That was really interesting, and I think I got the impression, I didn't really get to know him, it was really only a couple of days, but he's very much a throw ideas in. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care how you make it work. This is a great idea, and this is a great idea, and can you kind of mix it together? Do you know what I mean? Which is a very often a very, very good way of getting music done. If you don't get bogged down with the technical bits of I have to buy a studio and I have to know how this delay works. So I don't care about this. You're the studio. Here's two colours and a balloon. Now, what does that sound like? Do you know what I mean? So here's one of those. So that was a high point.
I remember Malcolm McLaren. It always struck me like that as well. When I was just watching him on I remember Joe Welly's show. I remember him seeing him on that a couple of times. Joe Buchanan's asking if you remember the London Boys. I had their album.
Yeah.
They always changed band members loads.
That's right. Yeah, I do. I was not involved, but yeah, that's right. There's a lot of that. Boney M. Oh no, Boney M wasn't one. They who was it? Oh, someone. It was a band like Boney M, and they kept changing the bloke, but it wasn't Boney M. Oh, there's so many. There's so many.
Boney M are playing at a wee festival I'm involved in. Down the Rabbit Hole this July. Yes, they're on the bill.
Iconic. Absolutely iconic.
It's a cracking lineup. We've actually got, speaking of band members, I think as well. So it's Bonnie M. So this is the lineup here. There's someone else. Oh yeah, Bicara. So Bicara are the band that sung "Yes Sir I Can Boogie," which is now Scotland's unofficial national anthem after the football recently. So I think that will kick off.
I find those things so interesting. I love looking at the running order of that stuff. Right. So if someone gave me a list of those bands, Bell and Sebastian wouldn't be above Orbital or Sleaford Mods. 10cc wouldn't be in small right. Do you know what I mean? There's obviously a logic to this, but
well, I mean, I think doing the Rabbit Hole's primarily a sort of more kind of indie rock, and it was more kind of underground,
right?
Guitar bands. It's sort of like compared to a lot of the festivals in
Scotland. So Bell and Sebastian be right up their street then, I guess.
Yeah, and they're Scottish as well. So there's.
Which reminds me,
we're on the Thursday night.
Oh, cool!
Patti Smith, so we're going to finish just in time to get a pint and watch Patti Smith on the Thursday night.
That's a good night. Wow!
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I think it's Tim Burgess is DJing after it.
So
brilliant! Should be a good wee night there. And that's just day one. That's day one.
So, tell me about the Scottish hip hop community, because I was blown away. Again, through Rebecca, she said, I'm playing this gig, which you organised, which I think is the first time I saw you, which was, I'm not sure if it was live or not. It was the Savings Bank, that's right.
Yes.
And I just remember at some stage you came on and you was like, I'm a boss. And you did this track, which was like, this is a brilliant track. And then, so what's all that about? It's amazing.
So the boss track is, so that's my other projects, Jackal Trades, that'll be out. It's going to be on the next album, so it was just because Press happened to be there. She was playing a gig anyway, so I thought, right, we'll just try it out, doing it live. But yeah, it's got someone else on it as well, but that'll be coming out maybe it's a single in the next couple of months. And but the Scottish hip hop community is great, man. The gig you're referring to was the Savings Bank, the Friction Burn Supper, which we tried to.
That's right.
So, so normally we do everything in live in real time. But on the night, their internet just packed in. It couldn't handle it. It was kind of jittery. It was kind of going and going. So I ended up just ending the broadcast because it was just too frustrating. It was unwatchable, really. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. I don't. Things don't need to be perfect, but it was just unwatchable. So I just stopped it, and we just did it the following week. We just pretended it was, well, we didn't, we pretended it was live, but obviously it was quite clear that I had a green screen behind me, and it was
I was wondering what was going on. It was great though. There's so much talent there. It was just
there's loads of great people in the hip hop scene. In fact, Steg G, who's tuned in, has got a Spotify playlist that he's quite good at updating. We just within, I think maybe he picks like the top 20 tunes in his opinion that are out at the moment. So maybe I'll send you a link to that.
Yeah, please.
In fact, Steg, if you're watching it, if you drop the link in the comments so other people can check it out. But it's a really good scene, and I suppose it's quite obviously hard with Scottish accent to have any great financial success with it. And I suppose that what that does is it does keep it quite real in the sense that people are making art for a lot of the right reasons. I don't think many, especially, I think, for me, I'm a massive hip hop fan, but all these people in their teens and their 20s now, their flow is incredible. Yeah. And I'm just excited to see what they're going to be like, when they start hitting their late 20s a wee bit, because I'm older, it's usually over 25 hip hop that the lyrics start meaning a bit more to me. But it's a really exciting time for them. Some absolutely fantastic. I mean, the Stanley Odd is amazing. Darren Loki McGarvey is probably one of the most famous guys running about here. He just did an Orwell Prize winning book though, so he's kind of sort of been doing that, and he's Class Wars documentaries on BBC. So he's kind of sort of like been busy with other stuff, but I think he's going to go back to his album stuff soon. And yeah, Bang Dirty's a good one as well. I'd recommend, because that's Mog, who's probably very Glaswegian dialect, but an absolute poet. And the good thing about Bang Dirty was they took this raw, rugged sound that he's got, but Adam Holmes and Zambian Astronaut, they made beautiful pop music around them, which it just really made something really special. I don't think they're together anymore, but there's two albums that are really worth checking out on Bandcamp. They're just, it's brilliant. It just shows you what could be achieved. Steg as well, he's got a great album, he's got a few great albums, but the most recent one is a masterpiece. It's got Empress, who you've seen at the Savings Bank gig. Yeah. It's got Dave Hook from Stanley. It's got Freestyle Master and two young guys from Govan called CCTV. And yeah, it's basically concept albums that they're making, and everyone's playing different characters in it. And it's just a full orchestra behind it as well. So they've been playing live gigs with orchestras, which has been really exciting to watch. So yeah, man, it's there's a load of good stuff out there, and we will be doing, and we might be doing another one at the Savings Bank quite soon.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
But it's just, I think the idea is to maybe try and do a monthly live stream, but everything's been confusing because I was saying no to gigs for a lot because obviously it was just so demoralising, gigs getting cancelled all the time and postponed all the time. But it seems like we're
sort of picking up, isn't it? Yeah, it does. Fingers crossed.
Busy. I mean, it's been gigs every weekend at the moment.
With the hip hop stuff, just from a very basic level, what really works is a Scottish accent, and that, you know, and there were great artists, but from not hearing Scottish hip hop, it was like, this is so good. There's a guttural threat, or I don't want to offend anyone, but it just works. It sounds like you mean it. It sounds it's quite a tough kind of sounding accent, and it just sits. So whereas we've obviously got the London-based drill stuff that's common around with a very, very London accent going on, and then there was a kind of the blow up of the kind of Welsh and West Country, which sort of led to Goldie Looking Chain and turned it into a bit of a comedy. But there was a bit of a West Country Welsh kind of hip hop vibe a few years ago, which was serious and worked. But Scotland is just, it's perfect for it, to be honest. The sound just works. You don't have to put on any accents. You don't have to pretend to be American. You don't have to do any of this rubbish that's going on. It just works, and it's completely unknown to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people. And I can really see it kind of exploding. And then take a couple of tunes, and suddenly it'll be like, yeah, this is a genuinely new style that'll take off.
It's been good recently. I think that there's a lot less of there's just the Scottish cringe. I don't know if you've heard of that phrase before, but in Scotland, people just cringe at the Scottish accent. My theory is it's because we get kind of typecast in EastEnders. You know, we'll be like Trevor the wife beater, or it'll be a Polish guy. You know what I mean? The policeman's a Scottish guy, or the serial killer or whatever. So I think just people aren't really used to hearing the Scottish accents because we're kind of like, it's English media that we've grown up consuming.
Yeah.
But I think the internet's changing all that. There's lots of kids growing up now there's now 3 generations. There's been 3 generations of Scottish hip hop now. I think there's some people have been doing stuff since the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
But it's starting to just sort of. So there's less of the Scottish cringe, and that's the thing. I mean, people that do like hip hop. It might be a bit fast, you might not get all the slang at first, but we didn't have a clue about what the American slang was when we first started listening to, you know, NWA or whatever. It was like we just liked the music, you know, to find it. And there's been loads of French radio stations and stuff that have been picking up on it, but I think it's just a case of getting out there and trying to play some new countries and taking it out. It's the
right time as well, with drill kind of being an English, or British, whatever, UK invention, just taking the US by storm. Everyone's using kind of British, UK-based beat makers now, and I just think it's something I should have known about, you know, because I love hip hop, and I just haven't really heard it. And when if you're Scottish, you're involved in the scene, it's obvious, but I don't think there's too many people out there that are so aware of it and so aware of how good it sounds and what a great number of artists there are over there. And I just think it's ripe to take over for a little while. It's your time, I think. So hopefully in the next sort of 18 months, that's really going to kick off. But as you say, yeah, they've got to get out there. The tune's got to be out there. It's quite a live thing as well, isn't it? If you can get out now, hopefully we can all play gigs again. It will make a big difference, I think. Yeah,
some gig swaps. We're talking. I've got a great Manchester band called The Moods. We're going to be putting on some gig swaps to getting some of their Manchester talent up here, and we've got some people down in Newcastle as well. So we're just going to try and start getting the gig swaps on the go, because people in Newcastle and Manchester and stuff, they've got the same issue as well. It's very London centric. It's not a problem exclusively to the Scottish accent. It's just non-London accents struggle a bit to get that sort of the sort of radio play basically or anything like that. But there's actually a good. I'll try and find the link to post in the comments to the. I don't know if you know Captain Barrett, but he's a programmer for Boomtown, DJ.
Okay.
He's a musical encyclopedia. So we had a wee game, Scotland versus Wales hip hop night, where we had a few beers, and it was just one song each. So it was really good because he introduced me, because I wasn't aware of lots of the, you know, the history of Welsh underground hip hop as well. Yeah. So it was great to hear these totally new artists to me, and the new accent and the new dialect and the new slang words. Give it to me, because in the day, it sounds good. And all good hip hop takes a few listens to get. If it's well written, it should take a few listens for you to get all
Of
the
course,
references.
yeah, and people are used to that as well. I mean, I just like it because it's snappy and the tracks tend to be quite short. I mean, maybe a 30-minute film or something focusing on Scottish hip hop or something, an underground thing that might just cover it all would be something to go with. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I've got one here actually. Loki did one.
That's one I prepared
Loki did
earlier.
one. So Loki's history of Scottish hip hop. I'll put this in the link in the
perfect.
comments.
Yeah, please.
It's bang on, just as you requested. It's 29 minutes and 30 seconds long.
Brilliant.
So I'll put this is.
I'll take one.
Loki's documentary. I'll put this in the comments.
All right, we need to get that out there because it's fascinating, and I just think it's such an obvious thing.
Because it's why obviously Scotland is from going way back to Rabbie Burns, we're accepted as poetry, as poets. There's loads of famous stand-up comics from Scotland and stuff, but for some reason when a banging beat goes behind it, people are just a wee bit like, what? So I don't know why, but it's like it should work better. Yes, look, and I think there's quite a lot of the poetry scenes kind of sort of feeding into the hip hop scene, and vice versa as well. It's like that kind of interesting thing of when does it stop becoming spoken word and when does it become rap?
Yeah,
so sort of teetering around because I wouldn't really consider myself a rapper or a singer really. I kind of just sort of go with vocalist. That's Inky the Cat is off. Buy Inky the Cat.
Cheers, Inky.
Read it. We've got to run. We're watching this back ASAP. Yes to being authentic, says Jim Glue. I think it's crucial for hip hop for the hip hop that I like. Is to say, I think Scottish hip hop is so naturally raw.
Totally.
And we're on it again. That's one of my tunes. That's a kind of hip hop tune, but it's more kind of dance.
Nice
electronic music.
I got to say, what you're doing as well is brilliant in terms of raising profile. And I mean, you're working very, very hard for probably not amazing rewards going on here as well. There was a club in the UK run by a friend of mine called Tony Moore called the Kashmir Club, which was an unsigned club and gave rise to quite a lot of acts, and that turned into a streaming show as well. And he's very similar to yourself down here, just constantly champion new music, getting it out there, the enthusiasm and the energy and the work that he puts into it is incredible, and he's helped out so many people. And I think you're obviously doing something similar, which is just brilliant. You're kind of whipping everyone into shape in some way, do you know what I mean? And just getting it out there and giving people a bit of focus and allowing people from outside the area to focus in and actually get it, to be honest, because it's just something that we're not aware of.
Yeah, well, it used to, because when I used to run a venue, it used to annoy me that when the sort of the bigger promoters or management, you take someone from 20 to selling out 200, and then they would just go somewhere else, and it used to bother me for a while. A wee bit bitter about it, made me bitter. But I remember one of my pals just saying, the grassroots is important. It's important work, and I was just like, it just kind of made me think about it differently. And also, I certainly wouldn't want to gamble financially and borrow money and invest in a band that was going to fall out and break up anyway. So I'm quite happy to just
there is that,
stay. I've got no boss. I don't owe anyone any money. I'm happy. It's fine. Do what I love, but also it is a lot of work. Kirsten's asking me the next Shackle Trades gig is this Saturday at Gala Shields, which I know is a bit of a trek, but I think we can also confirm Jackal Trades will be doing an album launch on May the 28th. It's the last album. We're launching the last album again because we didn't get a launch party last year.
Oh, cool. So now's the time. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, so we're going to do a festival. I think it's going to be called the Lost Launch Festival. It's going to be 2 stages indoors, 1 stage outdoors and a barbecue. And it's all the artists that didn't get a chance to have a party for their album or EP launches. So that's on May the 28th. More details to follow on that. And yeah, man, we haven't touched on the other side of what you do, which is the software, the plugins, and stuff like that. So I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about that. So
outside of music, I've had a weird and wonderful life. Really, I've always wanted to do music, and I spent up to the age of about 30 just doing music pro. And I was great, obviously, and it did really well. And even when I was just doing session musician stuff, it was fun. I started off playing keyboards for Boy George and stuff, so I had a leap start, if you like, when I first came to London, just by meeting someone and going, it came together. But I've also always had a bit of a logical kind of computery mind, and way back, it wasn't cool when I was at school to like computers, so I had to kind of pretend I didn't like computers for a while when I was doing music. But then they became. Imagine that! Imagine that! No, you definitely weren't cool if you knew that stuff. But I always had a little soft spot, and after the E17 thing and the music business sort of began to change, I got quite excited about this new thing called the internet, and kind of got involved with that and started working with audio and video and getting involved on the technical side, and set up a company that did a lot of I suppose they called it multimedia back then, just media over the internet, not just kind of serving web pages, doing funky stuff. So we built the playout system for Sky. So I don't think I've got it anymore, but Sky used to have like 80 radio channels on their satellite boxes. So you could have a rock channel and a pop channel and an opera channel and all that. So we built the system that actually squirted the audio up to the satellite and handled everything. Mainly, I think it was probably used by hotels and stuff, to be honest. And then, weirdly, I got involved in the gambling industry. A friend of mine, who I've known for many, many years, had he ran Maxim magazine in the US. He was a publisher of Maxim magazine, which is Lads Mag. And in the US, it was, for a while, the biggest selling magazine in America. I mean, it's a phenomenally huge magazine. And when the company was sold, he came back to the UK and he wanted to do a kind of gambling-oriented magazine over here because a lot of the advertisers over there were gambling. But the US shut down gambling at that time, so he came back over here. And it turned out it wasn't a very good idea. But he met lots of people in the gambling industry who were saying, well, look, we really like you. We really like your content. Maybe you could kind of come up with some funky ideas and stuff. So we basically set up a company, and we did sort of, ultimately, I guess, we would produce things that would prompt you to open an online gambling account. So it'd be like adverts and stuff, but rather than sticking an advert in a magazine or online that said free bet, sign up here, we would do things like I would pull in the scores, and I built a thing for the Telegraph. There's a means to an end here, I promise. I built a thing for the Times and the Telegraph where if they wrote a story, say, about Man United, there would be a load of info about Man United sponsored by Betfair or whatever, and that kind of stuff. And I built the system that puts the scores on the telly at half time. So if you've seen like Ray Winston at half time going Man United to win 3-1 or whatever live on the TV as adverts, I built the system that did that as well. So this was all going really, really well, but I felt kind of morally bankrupt for doing this because it's not the nicest of businesses to be involved in, but it did give me a lot of freedom to be quite creative in what I was doing. So in the end we sold the company, and I took some time out to kind of think about what we'd be doing next. Hence, straight back into the music kind of non-stop from here. But also, I started developing plugins for Logic and Ableton and all the rest of it. So the VST style things that you plug in with your reverbs and that kind of stuff. The first of which is one called Incinerator, which is the sound of an incinerator, which I might actually be able to show you. It is, hang on.
Share the screen? You want to share the screen?
I think I'll just get the incinerator. Hang on.
Yep. I've went a bit blurry. While he's getting the incinerator, I was going to give you a wee... We're going to be very busy. You Call That Radio's going to be very busy this weekend. This week, we've got the... Hold on, where is it? Here we go. So it's... obviously, you're watching Dominic now. Peng Shui tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, but we've got a bonus episode tomorrow afternoon with Celine Salon. Brown Bears next Tuesday. I believe we've got Loki, Dan McGarvey, we were just talking about as well. He's going to be on next week. And we've got the bonus episode of Mike Watson, the author of The Memeing of Mark Fisher as well. But I think that's Mr. Wigley is back. This is the incinerator.
So this is an incinerator. And this came about, basically because I was on Sonic State and people were talking about buying expensive bits of compression and stuff like that. And I was on a bit of a rant about, you know what, if you've got an onboard synth, you're playing a synth, a plug-in in Ableton or whatever, just get a microphone, play it through the speakers and just record it back into the mic and feed that signal back in. And it will just give it, move some air. It will make the sound of the room will make it sound more realistic, And if you want, get a bigger speaker and a bigger microphone or whatever, but you don't need to go and buy all this stuff, literally. And I just joked. I said, get a dustbin, stick a speaker in the bottom of it, stick a mic in the top, turn it up and record it and use that, blend that back in with your track, or put your vocal through it or whatever. Just be creative. That's what we used to do back in the old days. And then someone said, oh, yeah, ha, ha. So I said, right, okay, well, I'm going to get it. So I found, instead of a dustbin, I got that incinerator, which is really cool because it's got holes in the bottom where you can put the wires through. And I got a battered old speaker and an old SM57 mic, and it sounded brilliant. I bought these synths through it, and it's just like amazing. So I made a YouTube video about it, which got quite a few views and people talking about it, saying, other creative ways of doing cheap kind of sound processing. And then I thought, well, I could make a VST. I could make a little plugin out of it. So there is the incinerator plugin. If you go to mrwigley.co.uk, it's only 20 quid, and it's me procrastinate again. It's the first of a number of ones that I'm working on, but we haven't released any others yet. But it's done really well. And if you basically, the way I work is I do a lot of stuff on the computer. I do have synths and stuff, but generally I use a lot of plug-in synths. But I tend to take them out and put them through stuff like an incinerator or a compressor or whatever it might be, just to try and make them a bit more organic and tough, I guess. So that's the trick that I basically ended up using, and it really does make a difference. It just brings a few things to life. So that's my kind of income, really, I suppose, at the moment, outside of doing the music stuff. I'm trying to build a software company around plugins by musicians for musicians. I guess that's the best way to put it.
And what's the website for people to check this out?
mrwigley.co.uk. So it's MR Wigley, like with the name on the screen, mrwigley.co.uk. And if you search MR or Mr. Wigley on Google, you'll see that, and you'll see my YouTube channel. So if you fancy coming and having a laugh on a Sunday, just pop on over to the Mr. Wigley channel and give us a subscribe. I think I've got 2,500 subscribers now, which means that I think it's about a year away from 2 million. I think that's normally the way that the little curve goes, isn't it? I think 2,500 and then 2 million's.
That's right. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
That'd be good. That'd be good. We just got to 2,000 ourselves.
Nice one.
So it was. That's another one of those videos I was talking about that I started. So I started making a 2K special reviewing how much of that YouTube money that I've made, that big YouTube money. So I'm going to reveal my income from YouTube to see what people think.
I'll tell you one thing we do on Sundays, because I don't bother monetizing my stuff really, because it's really not worth it. But I wired up the super chats you can do super chats, and people can give whatever they want for super chat. I wired it up to a big car horn, so that every time a super chat comes in, this horn comes on, and it blows the side of my head off. Honestly, it's really, really loud. But we raise money for Great Ormond Street. So my daughter does this quiz. I can't remember if we were on air or off air, but she does this quiz on Sundays with crazy, kind of questions like what's in my pocket kind of thing. And people donate. And we've raised, in 30 odd shows, we've raised £3,500 for Great Ormond Street Hospital. So I think if it's for the right reasons and the right causes, and it's just a little bit special. Yeah, I'm absolutely blown away. £3,500 as of the last show, which is great.
Yeah, so I'll maybe pick your brains a bit more for super chat ideas, because we're now we've got that available. You can hit join. Obviously, we've been we normally direct people towards our Patreon, which is up on the screen there, which is patreon.com/YouCallItRadio. And then there's the coffee.com as well, which some people prefer to do just as a one-off donation or whatever. They're usually better for this kind of sort of live music thing. But the join thing, we've only got a couple of people that have hit that join button so far.
Oh, the YouTube join, I haven't switched that on either, but that could be.
Is that not the same as the super chats? Is that different?
No, join is a bit like Patreon built into YouTube. So you join, you can charge a fee, and you can release videos early. So it's the equivalent of Patreon, but just for YouTube. Super chats are.
I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of give people some value for donating, but also I've always been quite strict about never wanting to have a paywall for these shows. Especially since everyone's going through such tough times and stuff. I just want
completely. I think you've probably got it right. Super chat is literally, if you're in the chat, and I can't see the chat because I'm in with you, but you have a button that you can switch on that will allow people to post a super chat, and they can pay for that. They can actually pay whatever you want, but you set it for 99 cents or $1, whatever, and it will highlight in the chat. So they pay for kind of upping their chat thing. But we've had, I mean, the amazing Kent Spong has given like £50, £100. We've had so many big donations. It's unbelievable. So that's just one way. It's a one-off.
If anyone's watching this, I think I do have super chats switched on. So let me know if you can see it. You don't need to actually donate. This is not a sneaky way.
Yeah, you do.
Can someone stick a fiver into the super chat just to make sure it's working?
I think I can do it.
But so Epi's just subbed to the channel. That's great. Yeah, everyone give the YouTube his YouTube a subscribe right now. I'm just going to send you the link. I think most people, we're on Facebook and Twitch as well, but I think most people are on YouTube. But I found that YouTube was the best out of the three for trying to do stuff. Oh, it works.
There you go.
Jim Glue. Oh yes,
Jim
amazing,
Glue's
man.
£2. Yeah.
Oh, right,
now
amazing.
I've got that wired up. I didn't actually put a message in. It took my money before I could type at you. But so I've got that wired up to a horn in here, like a car horn. But you can have it do whatever you want. You can have it popping something up on screen or firing off, you know, like those kind of noises or whatever. So I can help you out with those. But yeah, the horn's brilliant.
How are you doing that then?
Technically, YouTube fires a web call to a Raspberry Pi that's in my house, which flips a relay, which fires off a car horn that's powered off a car battery. But I can show you. That's probably too complicated.
Because I know that Twitch, I did do Streamlabs or something, and I had that was set up for a while.
It doesn't work so well on YouTube, that stuff. But basically, I can show you. It's really, I think somewhere involved is that IFTT site. If there's then that, so IFTT picks up the super chat and sends a web hook to a Raspberry Pi that switches on the thing. But if you
I've got a Raspberry Pi, and I've not found a use for it yet. But my friend gave me it, and I was like, yes, finally. I'm excited to get it. It was my mate John. He's pretty might be watching the show. Actually, shouts to John Baird, but he gave me one, and I was like, oh, thank you. But I just, he explained it to me. It's like a mini computer, and I just
it is. It's insanely good. But I mean, if you just want it to make a noise, it's complicated because it's a real car horn. That's the trouble, right? So it's a proper thing. If you just want to fire off a kind of noise, it's really easy. You don't even need the Pi for that. But
amazing.
Yeah, it makes people kind of want to. Especially because it's for charity as well, so it's not like it's going into my pocket. It's like it just makes people feel the fact that every time it goes off I do that, it's like, oh Christ, it's right in my ear.
Did you ever try in doing any? So like I was saying there about. So right now we're multi-streaming to Facebook and Twitch as well.
Yes,
but I think I've kind of killed my Twitch channel by mistake, because what I was trying to build the YouTube up, and so what we started doing was we would stream to Twitter sometimes as well, but we're like. After about 15 minutes, I would tell everyone to get the bus to YouTube, and then but as a result, I think people just stopped really watching on Twitch and Facebook.
Yeah,
they knew that I was just going to cut them off.
It's weird, isn't it? That's what we do, because most of the chatters end up in YouTube, and so it's much easier. I mean, you get all the messages, but chats are mainly YouTube. The weird thing about Twitter is no one, because my show's it's regular, but it's weekly regular, so it's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So I think with Twitch you just got to be consistent every day all week or something, so we don't really push it. There's a guy called BG Ollie who's a guest of mine. He's this amazing Irish, he's French originally, but he lives in Ireland, and he plays these incredible kind of obscure Gaelic instruments, but he does covers of chiptune stuff and Deadmau5 tracks. He's incredible, but he went the Twitch route, and there's something to do with the Twitch contract when you move to being an affiliate that stops you from multi-streaming like that, which put me off a bit. So I think you're not allowed to stream to Twitch and YouTube as a Twitch affiliate. Only if you're an affiliate, though. Oh, are you?
I'm
okay.
an affiliate. Yeah, I'm an affiliate.
Okay, cool.
I got that Twitch money too.
Wow.
Well, I think I had one check from Twitch. I think they only pay you when you get every £60.
Right.
And I've only had one payment, so let's put it that way.
Okay.
So I've not made it to the
second. Oh, well, no, that's cool,
£60
because I wouldn't mind pushing it. I want to do some live stream music rather than live stream chatting. I think
that might be better. I mean, the irony here is that I started my band and I stopped playing computer games because I had a football manager addiction where I knew it was bad when I was going to my cup finals and wearing a suit while I was playing the computer for my cup finals. But yeah, no, I've just kind of avoided computer games because it's not enough time.
Slope, right?
I'll get addicted to it. Just not enough time. That's why I like a wee documentary. I don't have time to watch TV either. But but the irony is, if I just stuck around, if I just kept playing computer games, I'd probably be making more money playing computer games
From
on Twitch.
Twitch, yeah.
I can't believe how popular stuff is. I don't quite get it myself.
Yeah.
Limmy's probably the only exception. I don't know if you know the Glasgow comedian Limmy. He is absolutely
No.
hilarious, and he just streams on Twitch every day just about. And he
Okay.
does it very well, but in general, I'm surprised at how popular it is for people to
It's
watch
consistency.
other people playing
I mean,
games.
I have it on in the back. I kind of go through phases. So at the moment, I'm watching loads of YouTube in the background. So if I'm coding, or even if I'm working on music, sometimes I might have something on in the background. And Twitch was quite good at that because it's on for a long time. It's consistent. You don't have to watch it all the time. You can drift in and out, and some of the games are okay to kind of watch. I'm not watching it as a games fan. So that can be quite good, but I think it's consistency there. You need to be like on at 2 p.m. every day, every weekday or something, so people go, oh, I know what I'll do.
That doesn't suit me at all. I just try and do a whole bunch of shows. Like this week we're doing 5, and then like last week I think I only did 1, and it's just I try and hopefully, but over the course of the month I've brought enough value that people will not cancel their Patreon. But it's been, for personal reasons and stuff like that, I'd been a bit quieter January, February, so that's why we're kind of teetering on the 1,950 for about 3 months there, but we're there. We're over 2k now.
Yeah.
Epi's saying, bring on the music. The chat's great, but it's music. See, I know Epi, you like when we play tunes in between, but he's got all Mr. Wigley's tunes are copyrighted to the max. I'm not even going to attempt it. They'll just be we're going to get struck down by the can I kick it? How many people's involved in that? That's never going to fly, is it?
No.
Do you ever? I mean, what I find is
there's a Clownfest set. I don't know.
Okay, let's go for that. I can maybe just play something to show people what you're up to.
Yeah, let me find it. Have you got any forthcoming stuff to announce? Let me see what I can find.
Yeah, I've always got stuff to announce. I'll go through the comments. I'll go through the comments first. So what we got here? The chat's interesting. It says Joe. Good one, copyright. Yeah, the copyright robots. So even nowadays, sometimes even underground artists have only released one song, and they're getting. I'm getting struck off by them as well.
Wow.
So they're getting a wee bit stricter about it. But in general, I think.
Sorry.
This.
Oh, mine. Right, I've stopped. Go on.
Send me the link, and I'll play it.
I'm just. Yeah. No, that's my intro. Yeah, carry on.
So, and what else we got here? Oh yeah, thank you very much. Joe Buchanan is putting £2 in the super chat. This is great. I didn't know this worked.
There you go.
I ticked super chat about 3 weeks ago, but I didn't know what it was. Really, I've seen it, people doing it, but I didn't know. That's great. Lou's saying, I'm keeping my Patreon payments going regardless. We still get content from Frank for the Gyro Babies and Mark's personal page. The content them on them alone is worth a few quid a month. Thank you very much. Well, I did try and keep the memes going on the You Call That Radio page and Frank Foodies page, and Overheard in the West End page as well, and of course Gyro Babies and Jackal Trades. So there's stuff happening even when I'm being quiet. I'm not just putting my feet up. There is new music coming. There is comedy coming. We don't take days off running about here. And Epi just subbed. A lot of YouTubers do super chat. Yeah, no, I'm just glad that's my first super chat. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Dominic.
Jim's great as well.
Joe.
Jim's
Amazing.
got his own channel as well. He goes by the name of James Glue on Bandcamp. Check him out. He's got some really, really good stuff, actually.
James Glue Bandcamp. I will check that out.
I've just private chatted you a link. That's
Amazing.
a StreamYard private chat. I don't know if that. I never watched my one.
I've got it here.
It's 20 minutes, so you might want to whiz it forward to about 15 minutes or something.
We'll go from about 15 on then. Yeah, I'm excited to see this. So this is from the Amazing Clown Fest, which was great during lockdown, man. I remember, I don't know if it was Clown Fest 3, I think, that I tuned into. Had a few beers and watched the full thing.
Yeah.
And obviously,
yeah.
I found about it through Doghouse.
Doghouse is so good, actually.
Amazing.
And kind of getting more and more, getting better and better. I think he was good. His last couple of tracks that I've heard have just been exceptional. So it's really,
I think he. I mean, he's been on the show loads of times, and I'm pretty sure he said that he just started producing in the last couple of years. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you knew his band before Signal.
No. Oh yes, I did. I've heard that on the URL. I didn't know it was him. Right.
Incredible live band, but they broke up, and he just started making his own beats because he used to be. Jason Flap Sandwich, which is a great name. He used to make the beats, and amazing beats they are too. Check out Signal if you haven't already. It's amazing sort of electronic punk music. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But so Doghouse he just basically started from scratch. He's always been an incredible writer, and what an amazing performer as a frontman, incredible. But he just kind of went back to the start again and just learned how to do his own beats.
Gotcha.
So yeah, but okay, well, let's go hear some Wigley. So this is live from Clown Fest 8. Let us know in the comments what you think of it.
Did it my way. Brothers and sisters, may the peace that can only come from the one God be upon you. We are here to tell the people that we hear you. One God will not allow us as people of conscience to lose our morale.
Powered by our patrons. That was absolutely brilliant, man. Loved that.
Thank you. That was a 24-hour. I got the day wrong. That was a 24-hour from scratch. I mean, there's 20 minutes of it, so it's not all that slightly repetitive at the end. But yeah, I thought it was Monday, and it turned out it was Friday. I think I was on. So I literally sat down Thursday night at about 7 o'clock with a blank Logic screen in front of me, and then went live. I think it was 10 o'clock that night on the following day, 24 hours later. And it's one of those ones that came together because I definitely wouldn't have left it till just a day to come up with it.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, all from scratch.
Off air as well, man. It was just like, we're shooting a music video on Wednesday for a song that I wrote today. So I'm going to record the vocals tomorrow and then do the video, get it mixed and mastered tomorrow night.
Nice.
I don't know who. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. Luckily it went okay today. That's the main thing.
That's the thing. I think if it's very depressing when the deadline's looming and it's just going backwards. Obviously, clearly it is. But sometimes it comes together. Who does your mastering? Is that something you send out?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few people, but in general I use Murphamish, who's incredible. Murphamish is he masters the audio podcast as well. So sometimes you know, if we do the live show and it's something a bit wrong, he doesn't, you know, he can easily helps maybe that mixing the mastering. And for the Jackal Trades album, he did the full album. I recorded all the stuff here, right here. I've went a wee bit blurry, but yeah, I could record all the stuff here and then I send it over to him, to a professional, to have a wee shot, to fix it. Because I don't really know what I'm doing in that department. And for my other band, Gyro Babies, it just really depends on there's a few different people we use. Depends on which studio we record it and stuff like that. But yeah, somebody's going to be getting. I don't even know who is definitely mixing the master on this one, but someone's doing it tomorrow night. So, I don't know who it is. If you're watching it, it might be you. It could be you. But,
applications in the chat. Yeah, your stings and stuff that go on between the shows and stuff. They're sonically brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, that one there you just heard. That was Oscar Jam, who's also a very. It's actually funny enough. That's the guy that I've made the song with that we're shooting for. So.
Oh, nice.
He sent me a couple of different ideas and I was working on the first one and I was trying to make it work and I was hitting my head off a wall. It just didn't sound right. And then when I just tried the other tune, everything started making sense. The words just fit in much nicer. I ended up changing all the words, but it's going to be really cool. It'll be coming out soon. I can't say too much more about it. But there is a song coming soon and I think it might even be on the telly. We'll find out next week. But we've got some comments going. Can Dom no book a space at Doon? Well, you know what? I'll maybe give Dominic a chat for Doon the Rabble. I don't exactly know what's happening with the sort of more, but I think there might be spaces left in the electronic stages. The other stages are fully booked. I've got a wee stage called the Tum Tum Tree that is. We're going to announce people next week, but I think it's pretty much been decided, so we'll be announcing that next week. But there might be some space for electronic music in the other stages. Epi says, singing along my way, cheers, tune.
Thank you.
Joe says, this is such a good summer vibe. Lou says, what is the super chat feature? I wasn't listening, sorry. But you've actually donated, Lou. I don't think my comments have updated because I've noticed that you put £2 in. So thank you very much, Lou, Joe, Jim, and yourself, Dominic, for that. Oh, no, so Lou's paid £2 and then I like that was nice of you donating. And then, what was that, by the way? And Raymondito is saying that photos are up now from Saturday's gig. That's brilliant, guys. Check out facebook.com/photography by Mondito. He is, I've not seen them yet, but I'm sure he's done a great job of capturing the magic of St. Luke's on Saturday night. It was, I don't know, it was about 700 people all having a great time. Call No Mustard, the DJ on 5, Gyro Babies, and the legendary Hugh Reid in the Velvet Underpants.
Best names. Names.
Oh, you should, absolute chaos. Hugh Reid in the Velvet Underpants, that guy's been doing it since the 80s. as for name drop stories, man, he's got Debbie Harry stories that are great.
Brilliant.
They went on tour with Blondie back in '89 or something like that.
Wow.
So he's always good for a name drop. But yeah, he's a total performance artist, man. He comes out with the band starting, and he's got these giant boxing gloves, and he's just punching everyone in the crowd. Everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? A health and safety nightmare, that guy. Joe saying, I love Saturday Night, was soaked by Hugh in his massive boxing, was soaked by Hugh in his massive boxing, or soaked, socked by Yuri's massive boxing glove. Gunned me first, that's what I get for chatting before the gig. Such a great guy. My son that was 17 loved it. I'm glad to hear that. I forgot it was an over 14s gig, and we had swearing. I didn't remember until but I suppose fuck it, innit? So it was bloody amazing, says Joe. Setting a time limit is a great motivator to make a song. I used to do a 40-hour challenge with a couple of music mates when we each had to make a track. It's a great idea, and I know that some of our friends did a Sunday songwriting group over lockdown, and they made some great stuff by having these weekly deadlines. I think it was like everyone came back in every week and had to share, and there would be a different theme, and that's quite cool, that, because you've got to makes you think about what you're going to use. But yeah, that's brilliant, man. So everybody go and check out the website, mrwigley.co.uk. I have put a link in the comments to the YouTube channel. Give give it a subscribe, and yeah, man, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you. It's been brilliant to come on. Thank you. Yeah, every Sunday on the Mr. Wigley thing, 7 p.m. For a bit of a laugh. Hopefully, some more videos coming out there as well. But yeah, and also please do check out Google Clownfest, because that's going to be a Clownfest 9 coming on soon. Hardware Jams that Inky runs with a couple of other guys. That's a Facebook thing. So Hardware Jams is a bit like what you described. Actually, they have a theme every weekend. It's a live jam type thing rather than a write a song type thing. But a lot of Hardware Jams have gone on to become songs, if you like. One thing about doing stuff to deadline is you've done it, you finish it, but you can always revisit it a day or two later and then actually kind of embellish it and turn it into something. The point is that you've either got somewhere or you haven't, and you've drawn a stop to it, rather than going, I'm just going to keep going and lose sight of where I am because I know this might be quite good. You've actually got a thing that says, do you know, that one I did last week, that's a really good one, I'm going to finish that. So yeah, Hardware Jams is a good one, but yeah, thank you so much. It's been brilliant to come on, and I mean, honestly, it's been a real eye-opener. The Scottish scene and the stuff that you're doing, I just think is absolutely brilliant. So hopefully you can come on in return, come on one Sunday in the next month or two and come and chat with us, and just take it from there, because what you're doing is excellent. So many new acts coming out as a result of, or I'm hearing so many new acts as a result of your show, so thank you.
That's what it's all about, mate. That's what it's all about. We will do Peng Shui is one worth checking out. Punk Grime tomorrow night. One of the best live bands in England at the minute. They're going to win tomorrow night at 7. Brown Bear is next week. Loki's next week. We also have Mark Watson, the author of The Memeing of Mark Fisher, on Thursday. That's going to be an interesting one. And I think we've got Celine Salon in the afternoon, but I just seen I've got a message from her there saying that the time doesn't work anymore. So we may or may not have Celine Salon at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But thank you very much, Mr. Wigley. Give him a subscribe.
Pleasure.
Tune in Sunday, and I'm looking forward to appearing on your show. I've not actually been interviewed since lockdown began.
Oh, there you go. Whoops. Yes. Yeah, that's fine. No problem. We'll put amends to that. You got to be prepared for Lula May's quiz. What's your favourite Disney princess? Well,
I love the fact you came up with the same issue that we had, because we did about 4 or 5 pub quizzes during lockdown.
Yeah.
And that is the thing; it's ungoogleable. You got to make it Google
exactly.
And then coming out with interesting ways. So
one of the questions from last time was, "What's this?" So, it's like, okay, off you go, knock yourselves out, guys. Oh, brilliant! Well, good luck this week, and don't work too hard.
I donated, but I didn't know what I was donating to. Well, you donated to me. You donated to the channel. Thank you. Mark, so guy, love the show. Thanks, Dominic, and great hosting for yourself, Mark. Cheers for the show. Thank you, guys. Check out Dom on Sunday. We'll be back tomorrow night, definitely 7 o'clock, and maybe in the afternoon as well for a wee bonus episode. Thank you. Good night. Bye.
Brothers and sisters.
Is that you, Daniel? Are you a
Yeah, enough respect in the respect to the man like Mark. I love what the man talk on the radio. In case you never know. You call that radio, call that the radio. You call that radio, call that the radio. Come and say, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, just go with the flow. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, just go with the flow. So till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. Till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. Boom. Lot of mercy. Yo. You call that radio. You call that radio. Come and say, don't you be another man, I'll go lose your head. Say, don't you be another, me say, and lose the head. Me say, radio. Call that a radio. Straight from out of Glasgow. Straight from out of Glasgow, nice enough on the studio. Come and say, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, just go with the flow. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, just go with the flow. So till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. Till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. No radio. You call that the radio. Them man I give you miss a lot of subject, and them I think a man you can't object. So don't you ever come and disrespect. I love and respect in a every aspect.